Give me your full name first, please.
Viola.
Viola?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
You want the middle?
Yep.
Pearl, P-E-A-R-L. That was my mother's name.
Okay.
Korn. You want the other names too?
Yes, please.
How many of them?
Your maiden name first.
Gim, G-I-E-M.
G-I-E-M. Okay.
And then Burton, B-U-R-T-O-N.
Uh-huh.
Then Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
And then Korn.
Okay, so your maiden name was Gim, and then you were married to 3 different fellows, one named Burton, one named Sullivan, one named Korn. Okay. And what is your nickname? Do you have one?
Ole.
Ole?
O-L-E. Or O-L-Y-I, whatever you want to spell.
And how did you get that nickname?
Like I said, my dad used to call me Viola, and then I was in the youngest of 5 kids. And I had blonde hair and blue eyes, and everybody else had dark hair and dark eyes. So they called me Ole the Swede.
So when you were a kid you got the name?
Yeah.
Okay. And when were you born? What was the date of your birth?
2/4/17.
Okay. And then different occupations that you've had through your life?
I went to commercial college in Great Falls. So I worked at the lumber yard for a few years.
Where was that? Here?
In Great Falls.
Oh, okay.
And then when I came to Butte, I never worked anymore until, in the 60s. Then I did some income tax at H&R Block.
So,
I think I was there 8 years.
So when did you come to Butte?
In 43.
Okay. What brought you to Butte?
The war. My husband Burton came down and was working down here at the ironworks for what were they building? Stuff for the war.
What were they building for the war, do you remember?
Yeah, big tanks. What in the world were they for? Great, it was for the war.
Tanks to hold things, like bulk tanks?
Yeah. I don't know what all it was.
Okay.
But that's where he went to work. The Montana Ironworks, well, who's up there now?
Steel.
No. Rose,
Anderson. Anderson Iron.
no, honey.
Over on 2nd Street?
Yeah.
Down there, yeah, that's where Anderson has part of their operations down there now. That's where
but
Western...
that was afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But was there in that same location? Okay. What's your ethnicity? What part of the world did your families come from?
Well,
When they came to the U.S.?
my mother's grandparents, the granddad came from Ireland. I don't know where the mother came from. Pennsylvania Dutch is all I ever heard, so I think Maine. She was from Maine. And then my both his grandparents came from Germany.
Oh, I see. Did they come his grandparents came from Germany?
His grandparents would be my great-grandparents.
How long had they been in Montana? Had your family been in Montana?
My family?
Yeah.
Well, my grandmother was born here in Montana.
Where was she born?
I asked her, we were going up to Virginia City, and she said, out in the hills here someplace between Silver Star and Virginia City. She didn't know where, but up in there someplace in the hills. I suppose they were coming out to this country.
What was her maiden name?
Redfern.
What was it?
Redfern.
Redfern.
A lot of Redferns around here.
Did she know any of the vigilantes?
Yes.
Who did she know in the vigilantes?
Plumber.
Is
She knew who Plumber was. She was
it-
up there at that time.
Is that right? Did she ever tell you stories about that?
She did some, yes.
Did she ever say that Plumber had it coming, or was it
No,
unfair?
she never said.
She
My
never made a
grandmother
judgment?
wouldn't have said anything. If somebody was out there doing something wrong, why she'd tell you that she didn't know what he was doing. There's no way.
Did she have any sentiments at all about that vigilante period? About the hangings or anything?
No.
Huh?
She'd tell you about it.
Did she have any family that was involved?
No.
Hmm.
No. My dad used to play cards in Virginia City when they had, that was after Plumber,
Mm-hmm.
but when they used to have their guns and knives and stuff on the table. for playing poker.
What did he do for a living?
He had a ranch.
A ranch. And what was his name? His name was
That's
Gim.
Gim.
And he was a rancher in the Virginia City area?
Twin Bridges. I was born and raised out here at Twin Bridges.
Is that right? Right in town, or which,
No,
which
in the
direction?
ranch.
Which direction from?
South towards Dillon.
Well, that's great.
On the Big Hole Ranch, on the Big Hole River.
Uh-huh.
The Big Hole River was on the back of our ranch, and the ranch was out here.
How big was the ranch? Do you remember?
160 acres. That's what he raised all of his kids on.
And you went to school in Twin Bridges?
For 12 years. I rode the school bus. 12 years. Then you see why I hate sandwiches now.
Did you, were you ever around the Children's Center there?
Oh, yeah.
What was your connection with that?
Well, when the kids there went all through grade school, they had the teachers. But then when it come time for them to go to high school, they had to walk over the board over to the high school in town. And I think probably in the freshmen, there'd be 22, 23 kids that would come over for high school. Then every year they'd keep cutting down. Some of the kids would leave and some would go out ranches and work or something. Now I graduated from high school with three kids from the home. And both boys are dead. And the girl, I don't know where she is. I don't know anything about her.
Now, did you ever go fishing much when you were growing up there?
No, not much.
Just a ranch
We
kid?
worked on the ranch.
Yeah. And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 3 brothers and a sister.
And your brothers' names were what?
Well, I had Leo and Jimmy and Lawrence. And then my sister was May. My sister was 10 years older than I am.
Were you the youngest in the family?
Well, then she had a baby. I think I was 7 years old. My mother had a baby. I didn't know she was even pregnant. She had the baby right there in the house. I knew nothing about it. That's how dumb we all were. that was kept from you. Nothing was done, you didn't tell you anything. But the baby died. I think she was only 10 days old. But then I still ended up the youngest one.
I see. So, and your brothers, where did they end up? Did they ranch there, or did they move away?
The 2 did. The oldest one went to Spokane. He was a tire man. He died at 59. He was with Lou Gehrig's disease. And then the one brother died last year at 88. And a couple years before that, the other brother died. He was 81.
Did any of them ranch?
Yeah, they were on ranches. And now their sons are running the ranches.
Over
Twin
on
Bridges.
Jefferson?
Well, one's on the Beaverhead and one's on the Big Hole.
Oh, okay. And your sister, whatever happened to
She
her?
died at 81
And where did she live?
in Twin Bridges.
In Twin Bridges.
Uh-huh.
So when did you leave Twin Bridges?
In 34 when I got out of high school.
And when did you get married?
I got married in 38 in Great Falls. And then we came down here when he went to work at the Montana Iron Works. And he died in 49. I had the 2 little boys, and I was pregnant. And he died just after the baby was born. So and that was in 49.
And what were your kids' names at that time?
I got Bob and Larry, and the baby is Sally. So she never knew the word daddy at all. It meant nothing to her.
Yeah.
So
You should tell them about your sister when she was in Missoula. The time we went over there and meet her.
okay, is he on this? Is
Yes,
going?
yes.
Oh dear. Anyhow, then when he died. He died with cancer, and then I started going with Sullivan, and his wife had just died. So he was left with a boy and a girl. Both his are adopted, and they're not related. So then when I married him, I raised the 5.
What were their names?
That's Heather and Jim Sullivan.
Okay.
So Sally would hear her call him Daddy, so she called him Daddy. I said, the prisoner had to get married then. That's the only word she knew was Daddy then.
He wants the book there, Kathy.
So,
Do you remember that strike? You were here in 43. Do you remember the strike in 46?
Yes, that's the worst impression I ever got of Butte.
So you come into Butte as a new person. What do you remember happening?
All I can remember is when we came in, at that time, somebody up in this district, they had thrown the piano out the front window. And then another place up here, there was a house that they had written all over. And I thought that was so terrible.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about the strike, but I sure, finally straightened out. But that was a very bad impression.
Where were you living